So Angela, thank you so much for joining me for an Audible Sessions interview about your brand new book, Joyrider.
Thank you for having me, Holly.
And I listened to the audiobook, which was an absolute delight.
Oh, gee, I was wildly hormonal. So you'll get a lot of emotion, guys.
How did you find the narration then?
I wept in places. There was one particular chapter that we had to start maybe 5 times and I would keep crying. I'm like, I realise it's not that sad. This is not yeah. So there was a few false starts, but I loved it. I really loved it.
So to start with, this book is out in the world. How do you feel now it has left the nest?
Well, so it's only out a few days. So it feels still quite new and raw, and I'm kind of looking around waiting for people's approval or disgust, but relieved and happy. And I've had so many gorgeous messages on Instagram and on socials generally from people who were like, oh my God, I thought you were in my head, which is quite comforting actually. Yeah. Because, there are bits that felt deeply personal and unique to me, and suddenly they now feel universal. So that's good.
Yeah, there were definitely bits where I thought maybe I should just tell people, like, if you want to understand me, read Angela Scanlon.
Yeah. We are the same human.
And there's lots of bits you cover, from your eating disorder to kind of addiction to work, so many different things. But I wanted to start on this notion of kind of never letting yourself be an amateur at anything. Yeah. And where you think maybe that kind of need to be great came from.
Oh, we're going deep.
We're going deep.
So I don't know. I only realised it really in the last number of years, and I think it's a form of perfectionism. And I kind of am reluctant to use that word because I think it's kind of thrown around as a trophy. It's like, what's your biggest weakness? The classic interview question. I'm a real perfectionist, but actually, it's such a damaging state to kind of live in. And I do think it became this thing that unless I thought I was going to be, the best, then I wouldn't do it. And that was a kind of, I think, protection from being rejected or feeling like I wasn't very good or very clever or whatever it might have been. I just didn't really allow myself the idea, the kind of, quite human thing that you need to learn and grow and make mistakes and fail and fall over and mess up. I kind of thought, what, other people can do that, but that's not acceptable. And I think the book is part of that. It was like, okay, it may not be the most perfect thing, but it's like, it's me, and that's fine.
Yeah. And there's one thing you write about where you had got what had been like a dream job for you, presenting the One Show, and you didn't allow yourself help through any of it because you had that notion of like, I'm just supposed to come in and be great and I've got this.
Yes.
So what was that experience like when you sort of almost wanted that help and support, but you sort of sat back from it because you didn't feel okay to ask?
Well, I had lied, is the truth of it, which I'm a big fan of. I talk about in the book how, and I mean, lie is maybe too heavy, but no, I mean, I did lie. I told them I had live studio experience. I didn't. But that was one of those instances where I knew like I had been a contributor live. I hadn't, driven the car, so to speak, but I was definitely a passenger and I kind of had a sense. So I was like, yeah, of course I've done it. And I kind of liken it to, and there's millions of studies that show that women consistently undermine what they can offer or undervalue. Yeah. Underplay, downplay, are not prepared. They need to be completely prepared in order to say that they can do the thing. Whereas men, on the other hand, will go, yeah, I can do it, and figure it out. And they inevitably do figure it out. So I think I was kind of operating from that zone, which I genuinely am a big fan of. I think you can only really get good at doing the thing by doing the actual thing. So like preparation is fine, but you need to I certainly need to just do it. Yeah. But because I never revealed, even after I'd proven that I could do it, I never revealed that I was a lot greener than I was. It just meant that I couldn't say, what does that mean? Or can you help me? Or I actually get a bit flustered with the auto cue, and can we maybe slow down? I was even in rehearsals trying to, create this pretense and this sense that I had it all together. And then we would go on air and I'd be like literally holding on for dear life because I felt really out of control. And because I hadn't communicated how, anxious I was, I suppose, people who would have presumably held my hand and allowed for me to make mistakes or been helpful or given me advice, felt they didn't need to because I was a pro. That was the story I had told. So they were like, oh, I can't really say anything, So I was flying blind. That's what it felt like. I was kind of flying blind and hoping somebody would, realise and help me.
And so there is, we've spoken about this before in a separate context, a lot of ambition that you've always had.
Yeah.
And something I've started to wonder about ambition is that, do you think that ambition and stress come together? Can you strive for something and really want it and not be stressed by it?
I think it depends where the ambition is coming from. And what you're driven by. And so for me, that kind of, certainly from the outside looking in, it looked like I was deeply ambitious. I was on to the next thing all the time. And I absolutely was. And it was, in hindsight, quite mindless ambition. Fill the space, fill my time, let me climb, keep going. Because I think the fear of not moving, of not being in movement was actually gave me wild anxiety. And this kind of fear that I had this sense that there was always a ticking time bomb, like I was against the clock, Whereas now my drive is in order to do things that challenge me, that help me to grow, that give me enjoyment, not just things that look shiny from the outside and that I hope people will go, oh, isn't she doing great for herself? It needs to be something that feeds me rather than just something that looks good from the outside.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah. And one of the things that I think probably does both those things, feeds you and looks good from the outside.
Go on.
It's your talk show.
Oh, yeah.
In Ireland.
Yeah.
So tell me how it felt to kind of to get that and to do that and experience having that.
It's a mad one because it's kind of like it is that bucket list dream kind of thing. And truthfully, I'm like, I was really stressed doing that, but I think previously I would have been like, I'm not meant to do this. I'm not supposed to be doing this. It should be easy. He makes it look easy. That person makes it look easy. If I was supposed to be doing this, it would be easy. So I was able to go, no, it's not it can't, the process, which is, that kind of idea of learning on the job, the process, not arriving fully formed, is okay. And it's messy. And I'm messy in figuring it out, and that's all right. And there will be moments where you're like, this is insane and I'm having the time of my life, and then someone will cancel last minute and you'll be foraging around in the canteen to get someone on the couch for a record at 9 p.m. and you'll go, do you know what, actually that was better than we expected. So it's kind of like rolling with the punches. It's not going to be perfect. It's a first series. It's a team all coming together. And again, that the messiness that comes with multiple humans in any one space. But I had the time of my life, genuinely time in my life. And it was quite scary because much like Joyrider, there was more of me. Often whether it's Robot Wars or The One Show or Your Homemade Perfect, you're kind of hidden behind a format and your focus is on contributors or somebody you're interviewing or whatever else. This was there was a good bit of my weirdness on show. Some of it was edited out. Try not to take that personally, but hey. I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Amazing. And is TV in Ireland the same as doing TV in the UK? Are there any differences between the two?
The snacks are worse. Is there any difference? I mean, I suppose there is a difference in a way in that, not that I know everyone in Ireland, that's very cliched, but you get much more direct feedback. Whereas here it's feedback from people on Twitter or Instagram that, you know, you may like the look of, or you may not, and you don't really care, whatever. But it doesn't feel personal. Whereas there, like, I know everyone. My mom is getting very direct feedback in the supermarket, you know. To the point where, so I was pregnant when I was doing, like, quite far along. I had my baby in February and we filmed up until November. And so, you know, from a style point of view, there were limitations towards the end. And somebody said to my mum, love the show. A little bit of advice. Maybe a different stylist next time. I was like, are you kidding me? Those flouncy dresses were a bit much, weren't they? And I thought, oh my God, like, honestly, you can never lose the run of yourself, which is what I love, but also you need to, like, be wrapped in armour. And that's, again, something I've had to kind of go, oh, okay, I don't listen. I don't need to take it all in. You know, the good stuff or the bad stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's, you know, you can't just, like, bask in the glory and then go, I'm not listening to any of the trolls. So I think you have to just let it all kind of wash off you. I mean, I say that as if I actually do that. I also, you know, search my name on Twitter.
There must be a fine line between kind of trying to sort of protect yourself from that and letting the kind of emotional, vulnerable side of yourself out. That must be a bit of a juggling act.
Yeah, it is a bit of a juggling act, but I think it's, and I'm only learning, like, again, still learning where you kind of draw the line. I did have this woman who really pissed me off. She sent me a message and it felt really personal. I was like, about to give birth, and I was like, do you know what? I don't owe you anything. And I usually will go either ignore or, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to offend. That wasn't what my intention was, or whatever it might have been. And I just thought, you know what? People forget. They forget that, like, if you're on TV, that you're also, like, a human, you know, with heartburn. So, sometimes it's like I unleash the beast, and most of the time I can keep that under wraps. But yeah, it's a mixed bag, really.
Well, Angela, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. I feel like we've just had a therapy session. Sorry.
I'm always up for a therapy session.